I messed that up. It's Tuesday, and you're watching Breaking the Mold. My name is Energon Addict, otherwise known as Lord Energon, the Mold Breaker today.
Oh.
But we do have a lot in store for you, so hopefully we can actually get this going, because it looks like it actually just went live now for some reason on my end. But anyways, so we have a guest today. We're going to let him tell us how his weekend was, because he's seen the show already, so I don't have to be cordial. I don't have to be nice. So, Jeremy, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Heck yeah.
So usually, like, we go, like, we talk about our weekend and, how, anything you might have gotten recently that you want to talk about, like toy related or anything.
So, yeah, the weekend was good. It was actually my wedding anniversary this weekend. So,
Congratulations.
Yeah, so we went out. We had a nice day. We went out and grabbed some lunch, just the two of us, and then went out with the kids for dinner. But other than that, we've had a couple busy weekends. So this one was nice and quiet. I actually spent a lot of time in my little workshop, doing some stuff, doing some customs, and getting ready for Legions Con. Pretty cool.
Awesome.
I mean, worst ways to spend a weekend than going out to dinner with my wife and making a lot of custom toys.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
So how many years is that now you married?
18.
Wow, that's awesome, dude.
Yep.
I've been married to mine for 5 going on 6, and it feels like 40, but hey.
It feels the same way. It feels like I can remember just like the day like it was yesterday, but it feels like a lifetime, which 18 years is a long time. So, but yeah.
Nice. Happy anniversary, man.
Thank you, man.
So, Chan and JD, how you doing?
Hey, we're doing, things,
just
stuff, and
hanging out. I'm prepping for baking the rest of the night, and
for
just
like the next 2 days.
straight. Yep.
What are you baking? Cookies for us?
Yeah, and
All kinds of goodies.
muffins and cupcakes and all kinds of goodies.
Gluten free?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Dave, we know what room we're crashing.
Does anybody have an issue with blueberry muffins? Because I really want to.
No.
Okay, cool. Okay.
No.
Cool. Because I really want to make blueberry muffins. So I'm gonna bring some monster blueberry muffins this weekend. So.
Go for it. I'm ready.
What is it, a casino? Why is this blueberry muffin only have 3 blueberries? This one has like 20 blueberries.
And I'm gonna make some for Legion Con too. So
Awesome.
yeah. Some baked goods are always nice to have around.
How about you, JD?
Yeah, I'm here.
You barely, right?
I'm here. Yeah. No, we're it was an interesting weekend, and her mom and was here, and
My daughter's 15th birthday was Friday.
Marissa's 15th birthday, and
Yeah.
Quinceañera.
it got to a point where it was like, you know what, ready for everybody to leave. It's time to go.
Well, I mean, you get so used to having like your time to yourself and quiet time around the house that it's really hard whenever there's like constantly something going on, That it was good.
But it was fun. It was fun.
And we got to go see the new Zombieland on
we went to
Saturday. My daughter wanted to see it for her birthday, so we took her.
It was good?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, anything with Woody Harrelson in is,
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty good.
my girl Rosario Dawson was in it, so I was like, yes, I love her. Everything she's in is awesome. Sorry.
It's funny. It's something I don't like about her.
What?
And it's because you ever seen the movie? It's stupid, but He Got Game.
Yeah.
All right, so she cheated on him in that movie, and ever since then I can't stand her for some reason. I'm like, that was Jesus Shuttleworth, and you just ruined your whole life by fucking cheating on him. But
She's an actress, man. She was in.
I know, but
everything.
she was also in Kids, so I remember her from back then. I think that
Right.
was her startup. So, I mean, not that I don't like her, just I don't care for how much. I always think about that for some reason.
Did you see her in the Sin City movies? Come
Yes,
on,
yeah.
man.
She did kick ass in those. I can't front.
Yeah, she's cool. But that's not like it was cool that she's in it, and there's it's a really great one. I think that anybody that goes to see it would enjoy it just because they're fun. Zombieland's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So Raul's in the chat and he's asking who is Alex? So who is Alex?
Who is Alex?
Who got this guy in here?
Alex.
Alex, who are you?
That's a really big question, isn't it? No, I'm good. I'm like the breaking the mold side piece. I'm only on whenever other people aren't able to come on. So like I'm the backup, it seems. But no, weekend was pretty good. I watched a lot of horror movies. And there's a dog growling over there. He doesn't want to go in his kennel. So yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. I put in the realm about some deep cut horror movies, and people had really good recommendations. Worked in my room a little bit, got the trim done. You know, pretty low key.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's good.
Did you get to watch Mandy yet? Did
I
anybody see Mandy? Did any of you guys see Mandy?
So like I paid for Shudder, and I went through like Shudder streaming app, and it's terrible. Like there's no options on there that I really want to watch. But Mandy's on there. I think they have exclusive for a while, so I will watch Mandy on there while I have it.
Yeah,
It's
definitely
crazy.
Yeah.
definitely worth the watch. Yeah.
It's very like 80s nostalgia, like late 70s, 80s nostalgia horror movie type.
Mhm.
It's very weird.
It's very
really-
psychedelic as well. It's
Mhm.
like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just wild.
And Nicolas Cage doesn't talk a lot, so that makes it really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a big Nicolas Cage fan, but if it has zombies, I can,
Yeah.
I can
It's the performance of his career.
It really is. It's phenomenal. He does a great job.
He's like the Nickelback of actors.
Alex, look at the question on the screen.
Why is Alex better looking live than his? Oh, well, thanks, Travis. You're better looking live too, buddy. He's just here for the free toy, though. That's the only reason he's watching. Don't look live.
Jeez. That's not fair.
Ruining surprise. No, everybody knew.
Alex would definitely get along with us.
That's why I'm the main side piece.
That should be like that's your new tagline. The side piece.
Piece, Alex.
You gotta get rid of the Collecticon now.
Yeah, that's gonna be my new Instagram handle that I don't use.
So Dom, what's up, man? How you doing?
Going on, guys. I just wanted to say, great show last week. I was really upset that I missed it. It was a wonderful show. You guys did a great job. If any of the watchers watching tonight hadn't watched it yet, go check it out. It was a great show. My week was great. Kind of crazy, but a lot of family stuff. But kind of weekend, kind of chilled out, relaxed. Did a little bit of toy hunting. Didn't find anything much, of course, always. But and then that's it. Sunday we kind of kept it chilled. It rained most of the day, I think, on Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So we ended up just crashing on the couch, watching some movies, and enjoying a couch sit down Sunday kind of thing. So
Sometimes those are the best days. Though.
yeah, that's great days.
When you do nothing. Like my daughter stayed at my mom's on Friday, so we had the same thing on Saturday. We could have ran errands all day, but instead we just ran errands for 2 hours and said, "Want to go home and take a nap?" And we're like, "Yeah, let's do that." So,
Oh, that's nice. I'm jealous.
oh, cut it out, you. You just said you didn't do anything but play with dogs all weekend.
No, my mom was here, and so was my daughter.
Yeah.
I entertained all weekend.
Aside from that, my weekend was pretty lame. I mean,
Who asked you?
Well, I'm gonna ask myself. Nobody cares about me.
I'm asking.
I opened a bunch of stuff. I've been just opening ever since we had that show last week. It kicked up my Mythic probably probably tenfold. Like I just after that, I was just like, what do I have? Because I have this bad thing where I'll be shopping on Facebook for no reason, just cause, and I'm like, oh, I need that. No, but you fucking have that, Dave. What the fuck's wrong with you? But I need two because I gotta make him into this guy. But we'll get into that later. I just started opening everything because I just really needed to see if certain things were worth keeping or worth buying a second version of. So that's what I've been doing probably for the last few days because like I said last week, that Avid of the K drop, like I'm still opening stuff from that. So you know, we've got stuff after that, but I'm still opening that stuff still. So I mean, aside from that, you know, it's regular family shit, running errands, getting ready for this trip that we're all making this week, and just prepping for that. You know, I gotta make sure I got the right sneakers to match the right T-shirt and that kind of shit. But you know, I'm weird. But
he's got to coordinate.
Yeah,
it's important stuff.
So now that we're done with the formalities, let's talk toys. So I first want to talk about this Legion Con that's going on next month. So Jeremy, why don't you fill us in? Tell us a little more about it.
So the way Legions Con started was I had met the guy that runs the Toy Con New Jersey show, Joe Viteri. I had met him at Toy Con last year, and then I hung out with him again recently, earlier this year, at the Horseman Studio when I was there for G-Con. And, you know, we just got to talking, and he reached out to me, and he knew kind of, you know, my work with Mythic Customs. He knew kind of my standing in the Mythic Legions community. And he said, you know, what do you think about doing like a Mythic Legions kind of like meetup, like a fan type meetup? And I thought it was actually a really great idea. I tend to get really excited about stuff and kind of take charge. So I started saying like, oh yeah, you know, I know what we can do. And I reached out to like Rob from My Action Figure Customs. And I said, hey, are you going to be down for ToyCon? Because we're thinking of doing this meetup called Legions Con. It'd be great if you guys, you know, maybe displayed some stuff, had some stuff for sale. And then they said, yeah, absolutely. And why don't we do some like show exclusives, some show debuts, which I was just like, that's even cooler. Sure. And then I reached out to Trevor, 1/6 Shooter, and I said, hey, you know, your photography is great. I think it'd be awesome. I talked to JD with all his diorama stuff, and it just started coming out of the woodwork. People started saying, hey, I want to be involved. And then people started saying, yeah, I'm flying in. Like that moment when people started saying, I'm buying plane tickets to come to your silly little Mythic Legions thing, that's what made me say like, oh shit, this is actually something. So it just kind of blew up, and you know, I actually don't totally know what to expect. You know, we've been promoting it obviously in the Mythic Legions Cabal, and there's 20-something people in there that said they're going to be going, but I know there's going to be a bunch of people from ToyCon that kind of bleed over because we intentionally are doing it right after day one of ToyCon in the same building as ToyCon to kind of leverage that. But I'm not really sure how big it's going to be. It could be, you know what, and if it's just a handful of us hanging out and looking at our cool stuff and talking Mythic Regions, that would be pretty cool. I'd be happy with that. But, you know, there's a chance that this thing could be pretty special. I mean, some of the tables that we have, some of the exhibitors, if you're into Mythic Legions, the stuff that we're going to have there between the customs and the dioramas, you know, Walter, the guy that runs the Cabal, he's flying in from California. This is the place to be. Absolutely. There's a lot of cool stuff that's going to be on display there.
So I'm going to just say this to anybody listening that plans on going. Forget about Christmas. Forget about anybody's birthday that month. Okay. Bring your wallets because they're going to empty out at the minute. I'm telling you now, I'm already contemplating now. Like I got to work some overtime or do something because this sounds too good to be true in a sense. But I wanted to also tell Jeremy, I told him a little bit prior to the show, a lot of what you just said is kind of like how we came about. So the founders of the Realm of Collectors actually, you know, they do a Monday show as well. And they originally got together, I think it was 5 years ago. I think this will be their 5th TF Con that they attended. And that's how they went. I think it was originally 4 or 5 of them, 5, if I'm correct.
5.
Who showed up, and then they met up with other groups that we're also intertwined with which turned out to be a big group at the time in North Carolina. That since then has multiplied like 10 times over. It's just we've had people come as far as Germany, London, the other side of the states, and look forward to coming to this every year.
Mhm.
So we get together, we really take over the con. So it's almost become it's called TFCon, Transformer Con, but the reality of it is it's IROC, it's International Rumble Collector Meetup is what we really do at the time. So I think that if this blows over well, I mean, you never know, could transpire into its own con. You know what I mean? Its own thing.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that the Horsemen, are in New Jersey, the studio's in New Jersey, I mean, obviously that is what makes this work so well. They're already going to be there. So the fact that, the people that are the creative force behind this line that we're all excited about, and we're going to be at this event talking about, that they can be there and they can be a part of those conversations. That's something that's really, really cool. So taking advantage of that, we're already talking about, if this is as successful as we think, what does next year look like? What does the next one look like? And then we have to stop ourselves and say, look, let's just get through this one. We'll regroup afterwards. We'll talk to the people that came, talk to you guys that came. What did you like? We'll talk to the exhibitors like JD and really find out what we can do next year to make it better. But we're really excited. I mean, the bottom line is both Joe and I, who started this, we're both huge Mythic Regions and Four Horsemen fans. So this is the kind of thing we would want to go to. I mean, everything that I'm trying to do when I put this together is trying to put together an event that I would want to attend. And I'm pretty excited about it.
So Chan, you got to make more cookies.
Yeah, I'm gathering that baked goods are going to be essential for this too. So,
well, I mean, look at how many people show up there just to pick up the Horseman stuff.
Oh yeah.
So like, if we get 75% of those people that are going to hang out for the rest of the day, that's going to be a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking that, just the exhibitors at ToyCon, the day winds up and they see a whole bunch of people in this back room that are all getting together. There's a line and they're like, what the hell? It's the end of the day. This is usually when everyone's rushing out. We've been here since God knows how early, setting up. What the hell is going on? So there's just going to be some curious bleed over from that. And then what I'm expecting is, if you're a toy fan, and you come into that room and you see some of the stuff that's going to be on display, hell, even if you're not a Mythic Legions fan, just seeing the cool stuff, seeing the dioramas, seeing the 3D printed stuff, seeing the customs, that's going to be the kind of thing that as a toy fan, you're going to say, wow, I want to hang out here. I want to talk about this stuff.
And that's so great. That's what's so great about this line, because the customization it's open to that. Like, that's why this line extends to that aspect of collecting, because you can really get into the diorama aspect of it, the customization of your figures, pulling part of other figures, combining them together, painting, doing all that great stuff. And it's just it's definitely something that's like, for me, like it's just an endless bottom pit that just of possibilities where you could just throw so much money at and just basically enjoy a collection to where you can build these characters that you want and just enjoy a line and make it your own and just enjoy it for what it is. So it's wonderful. And I tell this to Dave all the time. It opens up your imagination again. It's amazing, because you could just come up with a character that you wanted or what you feel like you want to do, and that imagination that you had as a kid is reborn again, and then you can enjoy an action figure and have that imagination again, and create that scene that you're looking for.
Yep.
So Jeremy, you said you've seen the show before, but I'm not sure if you know. Like, everybody knows I'm a pothead, so basically that's my thing. At a certain time of night, it's not an all day thing. I do have a full time job, but usually around this time of night, I like to take a little smoky smoke, and when I do, I like nothing more than play with my legions, like my toys in general. But lately when I play with my legions, I even talk in different languages. I'm talking languages that I've never spoken before.
Mhm.
And I'm naming them things and I'm saying things to each other. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, you know what I mean? But I love it. I enjoy it so much.
Yeah.
So when
Right.
Dom says his imagination, like my imagination hasn't been sparked this way. Aside from when I was taking some pictures of, you know, some of my Transformers, and I used to try to bring them to life by taking photos of them. Aside from that, this has really opened me up. Like my imagination goes wild with this stuff. Like I'll be in bed and I'll be thinking about, shit, I need that guy because I need to pop his head off and put him on this dude. And then every morning I wake up and I get a new custom profile, 360 profile from Jeremy himself. And I'm like,
Every day.
that's what I need to be doing, but I don't know how to fucking do it. So I mean, I want to also ask you, like, when you
Mhm.
get immersed into your Mythic Legions, like, do you just the certain ideas just pop in your head and you go, I'm gonna do that, or is it something more along the line, like I said before, where like I'll just take a bunch of them apart and then see what I can do with them? Because I notice you use a lot of different parts, like stuff that's not Mythic Legions. Like,
so I do both. You know, to touch on some of the stuff that you were talking about, I agree that this line really sparks your imagination. You know, I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons, was a huge D&D fan as a kid. And when Mythic Legions, I had been following the Four Horsemen for years. I collected their stuff back when they were at McFarlane and when they started their studio. And when they announced Mythic Legions, it scratched an itch that I didn't really even know I had. And that was for like property specific fantasy figures, because like take the Toy Biz Lord of the Rings line, amazing line, incredibly expansive, but I can't look at an Aragorn figure and see anything but Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah.
Mythic Legions allowed me to kind of tap into that kind of Dungeons and Dragons nostalgia as a kid, where if I wanted to create a ranger or a knight or an undead knight or whatever, they have this huge parts library and I have the pieces that I can do it. And it's not going to be like, yeah, that's supposed to be my generic kind of character, but it's clearly Orlando Bloom's head on that. That's all I can say. So it really scratched that itch. And the way that I do stuff, I get influenced by everything. So there are times where I'm like, some of my more popular customs that I've posted have been me taking characters and translating them into Mythic Legions. Like I did a bunch of the Star Wars bounty hunters. So I did a Boba Fett, and as soon as I did a Boba Fett, it's a downward spiral, and I was like, oh, I've got to do all the others now. So that's just kind of me trying to rethink like an iconic character design and how would I translate that into Mythic Legions. Other times I just want to create a new kind of character where, you know, I want to create a tinker or I want to create a thief or whatever, different kind of character classes that are these iconic fantasy tropes. I'll want to do that within the Mythic Legions world. And then to your point, there are times where I'm just in the workshop and I'm just putting things together and I'm like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And I'm just playing in my fodder bins and something comes out of it. And I'm like, it ends up being a really cool figure that I do a little bit of paint on or add some accessories. You mentioned that I use a lot of non-mythic parts. I've been collecting for like 20 something years and I collect a lot of stuff outside of Mythic Legions. So I will routinely, if I'm trying to think of a design, I will know what kind of characters I need. And I'll scour eBay or toy shows like ToyCon to find these loose figures that I can tear apart to use the skirt or the cape or whatever to create kind of what's in my head.
And it's funny that you say that, Jeremy, because it's like, for me, it's like if I'm second guessing on things that I want to get rid of because I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get rid of that because I can maybe use it for parts and get into what you're doing, because it's like some of that stuff can be, you know, used for this type of custom, this type of world. So it's really like interesting because some of the customs I'm seeing, like the parts, like even like I'm buying some of those Fortnite figures from McFarlane, and some of those parts, some of those figures, and some of those shields and swords like work, and you can really customize them and give them that polish that you need to give them to basically use them for the line for any character that you want to create. So it's really cool.
I've sold so many pieces, like fodder pieces, that I end up going back and rebuying the freaking figure. Like I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me! I sold that 2 months ago, and now I need the guy's feet. And then I'm like,
Yep.
That's what he does.
well, you do this too. You need this one figure, and you can get it for like $12, but there's a lot for 85 that you get all this other
You
stuff.
get
as well.
all of it. Yep.
So I'm just like, well, now I'm going to drop 85 and get this entire lot. And
Yeah.
my new policy is I'm trying not to sell fodder pieces for the exact reason you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Because there are too many times where I go back and I end up wishing I had it.
Mm-hmm.
So what line do you think has produced the best fodder for you for Mythic Legions? Do you think it's the Toy Biz line for
Probably.
Lord of the Rings?
Probably Lord of the Rings. Spawn, there's some really good McFarlane stuff too.
Really? I haven't looked
yeah.
at that stuff.
Oh yeah, some of the McFarlane stuff. I would say Lord of the Rings. It's more. There's a lot of parts you can get out of each character, whether it's the weapons, whether it's the capes, the skirts. There's a lot of stuff I've used from Lord of the Rings. Spawn are they're not as generic. A lot of the character designs are so specific that once you use it once, you're probably not going to use it again because it's so stylized. But some of the Spawn Samurai Wars, Spawn Dark Ages, the armor pieces on that and some of the weapons, you rip those apart and they work wonderfully. The Viking Age figures, actually the Spawn Viking Age figures, I've used a ton of those on my parts. I think the one I think I posted it today, actually, earlier today. I posted like a skull-faced pirate that I had done, and the skirt piece he's wearing is from a Spawn Viking Age figure that sat in my fodder bin for months until I popped it apart.
Yeah, I forgot about the Dark Ages and the Viking series from Spawn. I have a couple of those that I picked up at the comic book shop, but they kind of fit in well on their own. Like
they do.
To just sit on the shelf. So it's one of those things where I need to get double so I can take them apart for other things. And then the NECA God of War figures. They've got a lot of really nice little details on them. I've got one of those that I want to cut up and do something with. But yeah.
We used to make fun of JD, because JD used to say, "Oh, I need 6 of those." He's like, "What the fuck you need 6 of them for?" And he's like, "For fodder, for parts." And then we used to be like, we're talking like 2 years ago. But now we see some of the stuff he's done with the parts, and wow, I could see why he needed 6 of those $5 figures. Let's say,
And there's some stuff take Lord of the Rings for instance. Some of the figures that have the rubbery type, skirt piece. I don't know what to call it. It's the part that comes under the belt, kind of like the bottom of their tunic. If you crack apart that Lord of the Rings figure, it pops off and it's just like a little hole that goes on the peg. It fits right over the Mythic Legions waist peg. And one thing I've said many, many times is the strength of Mythic Legions is their incredible reuse of parts. But the weakness is also their incredible reuse of parts. When you have a collection like this, you look at it and you go, holy shit, everyone in my Legion has the same chest armor on.
Right. So we're all Transformers collectors, and we will bash a company for doing repaints. Say it's terrible that they keep doing repaints, but all Mythic Legions is repaints, and we can't get enough of them.
No,
but they don't look the same.
They don't. They don't look the same. And my point is that because I talk to a lot of people that they're afraid to start customizing, especially with Mythic Legions. They're not cheap. They're like, I don't want to start throwing paint on this if I'm not comfortable. And I always tell people, I'm like, start small. You don't have to be whipping out paints. You certainly don't have to be doing sculpts and everything. You can buy some pre-painted heads from My Action Figure Customs, or there's plenty of sellers on eBay that do it. You can buy stuff like Lord of the Rings, snap these apart. Just throwing that little loin piece on there totally changes the look and the profile of that figure in a way that makes them very, very unique.
Yeah, and I like from last week's episode, those Legion builders are going to be more accessible. So, they're not going to sell out as quick, and they're always going to be available. So they tend to keep that $25, $22 price point. So those Legion builders for customizers being accessible and not having to pay double or triple the market value for it. It's a great tool for you to get into that and build and use those Legion builders as some type of customization, paint, do what you're painting in, and trial and error, and use that stuff so you can basically not worry about doing it on a $80 figure. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be a hard transition for us, though, because we're so used to needing to buy everything right now because it's not going to be available. That is always in stock. I mean, they're going to have to stock a lot because people are like foaming at the mouth to get like Templars and Orcs that they're going to buy 20 or 30 at a time. And I don't know how long it's going to take for us to actually transition to where people aren't buying out the store all the time.
So, I mean, they say they're going to always be in stock, but I mean, there's a reality that they're going to be production.
There's going to be a reality to see. I'm sure the first times around they're going to be sold out. And like, okay, we got to really speed up production on these things to keep up with the demand, and eventually it will settle out. But I think the first 3-4 go arounds, it's going to sell. Those Legion builders are going to sell out due to the fact that it's just not people buying these toys for the characters that they're showing. It's people buying these characters for the characters that they're thinking of or customizing to. Mm-hmm. So it's a whole different playing field out there.
Well, it's like I talked to Alex on the regular about these mythics, and he's been telling me to wait for the builders to come out because I've been buying.
This guy's still spending $100 on orcs still, and I'm thinking about selling my orcs while they're worth $100 and buying 3 when they're $22 a piece.
Right, and I agree with you, but like I have all these heads that I need to pop on them, and I'm not waiting 6 months to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's exciting for me now. So, I mean, it's tough, but at the same token, like, what if let's just say 6 months down the line, and this happens to collectors, this has happened to me, you lose interest in things.
Sure.
So you want it now, you're gonna get it now. You know what I mean? That's the way I am. Like, you only live once, so
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I do feel like an idiot sometimes of paying almost $100 for an orc, but at the same token, I can buy an orc figure if you get the Coliseum orc, and I can make 2 figures out of that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
At the very least. So for me, it's a win-win.
I agree.
Yeah.
But how does it go? Patience saves pockets.
Yeah. So like I had impulse purchased a Shadow Gomez, or not a Shadow Gomez. What is it? It's
Shadow Assassin.
Shadow Assassin Gomez today. Mm-hmm. So I'm not exactly innocent here either. I spent $175 on a figure that was $105. So because of that late tax, that one you got there for free for sitting around the Mezco booth.
Oh, Dave!
Stop showing my Gomez, Dave.
Yours is actually somewhere else, but
okay, cool.
But I feel like that's the only thing that Mythic Legions doesn't have is the soft goods. I feel like whenever they get their soft goods up to the same level of, the Mezco area or the stuff that I've seen JD and Chan working on, it'll be my favorite line.
I'm working on the capes and the cloaks.
Yeah, we got to talk about some stuff because I got a figure that needs some soft goods.
Hit me up. Let's talk.
It's funny you say that because I was never a big fan of soft goods. I always preferred plastic capes. And when they started doing soft goods on this, I understood why they were doing soft goods capes because they wanted to do, kind of the horses and stuff eventually. But I've actually liked the soft goods on them. I think that a lot of my impression of soft goods is probably from older lines where they just look too puffy and it just never looked good. But what like Mezco's doing, and what I'm sure Mythic is going to come out when they actually do like the robed wizards and stuff. I'm sure that they're going to look great.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that soft goods is its slippery slope. Like it either looks great or it looks terrible. Yeah. Like it's a very hard thing to pull off.
Well, I'm gonna put some wires in some things, and I'm making sure that hoods can lace, because that's a big problem for me with soft goods, is the fact that things don't lay the way they need to.
Right.
You
It
know?
has to look like it has weight to it.
Right.
Not like a float.
And being somebody who's made clothes in the past and just dealt with material for a long time, sewing machines kind of been like my bicycle, like I can't, once I jump on it, I know how it works, But when you start going down to that small of scale, material changes greatly. And it's really hard to figure out how to make that function for something at a 1/12 scale. But I think I've got some things figured out. So,
And we'll see it at Legion Con.
yes, you will.
Nice.
I got a question for Jeremy.
Yep.
Have you ever messed up a custom, or
All
I'm
the
sure you have, but like, can you tell us a funny story about one, or?
all the time. So I actually posted this probably a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. I actually posted a picture on my Instagram page of a head that I screwed up, because I think that people are afraid. Like I said, I talk to people. I love talking about this stuff. And I think that anyone that reaches out to me, whether it's through the Cabal or whether it's through my Instagram page, I'm always willing to answer questions and have a chat and talk about this stuff. And a lot of people express that, they're worried about getting started, or they wish they could do this stuff. And I'm always just like, just do it. Just get started, start small. When you start doing this stuff, it's muscle memory. You'll get better just by doing it. I tell people all the time, I've only been customizing like this since Mythic Legions 1.0 came out. I did a couple customs before Mythic Legions, a few different lines, but I certainly wasn't producing stuff the way I am today. And even when I first got started, I wasn't producing. I post something every single day. I wasn't certainly doing enough to do that back then. You got to get started. It goes, but there are bumps along the way. I was doing a Frost Elf. So I wanted to go with Talon Frostbow. I had done a male version of that. And then I wanted to do like a King Frost Elf. So I was using the Lord Adon head, and I painted the hair white, and I was trying to lighten his face, and I just messed up. I just put too much paint on it. I didn't do enough dry brushing, and it's one of those things, like a lot of creative stuff like that. You just try to do a little bit more to fix it, and you're making it worse and worse.
That's worse.
So I got to the point, I tried to get the paint off. I couldn't really get it off. So I snapped a picture of it and I threw it up on Instagram, and I told the story. I said, look, you get to see the final product, and everyone's like, oh, that's so cool. And what's like, I'd love to hear, but I don't want anyone to think that everything I do comes out perfect. There aren't bumps along the way. So that head's actually still in the back room. And I haven't done anything with it. I bought a new one to fix it.
And we have a question in the chat. So this one's a good one. What's your best-selling custom?
Best selling. So that's from Travis. It figures that Travis would ask a question about money.
Travis.
Yeah. All about money for that guy. The best selling custom I've done, I think I did a Lich King about a month and a half ago. I did a Lich King. I had bought actually two different kind of like, I think they called them zombies, but two different zombie heads for my action figure customs, one with a long beard and one with a shorter beard. And I bought them because I didn't know which one I wanted to use. I wanted to do a Lich Pirate, but I wasn't sure which one would look better. I ended up using the long beard, so I had the short beard. So I painted that up as kind of a more like classic traditional Lich. And I ended up selling that one. But a lot of the stuff that I sell, I just throw a price up there. So I don't often put things and just let them go up to auction where I'll just, whatever it sells for is what it sells for. Usually I have a fixed price in mind that's going to cover my cost and my materials and a little bit of my time. Something that I think is fair, something that I'm willing to accept to get rid of it. But that was the one. I think I sold that one for like $185.
Nice. Sure. So do you just take like random customs? Like, does anybody ever come to you with something that you're like, I can't do that, man? Like,
I don't do commissions. So
oh, you don't?
I do not do commission because I don't want to do other people's shit. I like to do my shit.
Nice.
And it's what it is. When I first started getting contacted about doing commissions, I found there were two kinds of people that contacted me. Either people that had absolutely no sense of what these things actually would cost to produce. So they'd want this totally custom figure and their budget was $50. And I was like, dude, I can't even get the parts for near $50. It's gonna cost me $100 for parts. The other people had this reasonable budget in mind, but they basically wanted like a totally custom sculpted toy. And I don't do digital sculpting. You know, Travis called me a lazy boy customizer once, and I kind of rib him about that. But you know, I know what I'm good at, and my strengths are taking lots of disparate pieces and putting them together in a way that makes a cohesive character. I really want my characters to look good on my shelf. I want it to be able to stand next to a production Mythic Legions figure and look like it belongs, not look. I think some customizers push it too far and it looks so heavily customized that it doesn't look like a production figure. I want my stuff, whenever possible, to look like it could have come out of production. So, you know, when people contact me and they want me to do like a totally custom 3D sculpt, because that's what it would take, that's not what I do. So I decided that, you know what, I'm not doing commissions. I'm going to do what I want to do. And occasionally, if I do an extra and I want to sell that to help fund the collection and help fund this hobby, then that's what I'll do.
It's a good way to go about it.
Yeah,
So
it is.
did you ever get like offers for like the bounty hunters or anything that you've done? Like, has anybody ever said, "I'll give you $500 for, you know, for all of them, or $1,000 for them all"? Or...
No one's ever offered for that. I've had a few people when I started, because I didn't sell for a really long time. And actually what got me to start selling was the new Aerithere wave, because when I saw the Aerithere wave and I saw the new body parts, it made me kind of realize that I've made so many customs. I counted this week for something I had to do. I've done over 350 Mythic Legions customs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's fantastic.
when I look at this display, I realized that I had too much. I had too many of the similar type of characters. So knowing that this line is not slowing down and I have more stuff coming, more orders I want to make, more customs I want to make, I started saying, you know what, I'm going to get rid of some stuff that maybe isn't essential. But what happened was I started selling it to make room in the cases and to make a few bucks. And my pieces started getting into other collections with fans that really dug it. And that, as an artist, made me feel really good. That people cared enough and liked the stuff enough to want to add it to their own collection. So that's why I started selling more. When I started selling more, I did have a couple people that reached out, but in a really respectful way, to say, hey, if you ever sell this one, please keep me in mind. I would be interested.
That's a good way to handle it.
Yeah,
Dave, I can see even Dave's head as he's rolling through the like which one.
I'm like, which one should I please?
You look through the website and you're like, oh, which one do I want?
No, but it's funny because I've seen you know, on Saturdays, right? You've thrown up sales recently the last few weeks.
Yep.
And you did a bunch of Templars like
those were
a
fast.
week or two ago, and I woke up and I was like, they're all gone. I gotta stop sleeping in. Like, within the first the half hour, I think they went, right?
They
4
went.
out of the 5.
They went really fast. 5 out of the 6. I had been teasing that. I bought a collection recently, and I ended up with a bunch of extra Templars, and I just didn't have any room for them. So I got it in my head that I wanted to do a bunch of custom Templars and sell them all together. And once I had them, by the way, all done, and I took pictures of them as a group, I second guessed it, and I said, oh, they look so cool together. Should I keep those? But I pushed forward. So I had kind of teased that I was going to sell a group of Templars. But as soon as I posted them, I got a bunch of people that reached out to me right away. And I actually got one guy that bought 3 of them. He bought both of the skeletons and the dwarf. and he's from over in the UK. He grabbed all three of them.
Wow.
No doubt.
Wow.
See, that's like
don't want to ship overseas, so he was psyched.
yeah. But you were saying about you were second guessing yourself. It's one of the problems I have is like building stuff and be like, man, I really like the way this looks. I don't want to get rid of it.
Yep.
I'm gonna keep it.
I want to. This is gonna look good on my shelf. Like I don't.
JD, have you started doing any Mythic customs yet?
No. So the only one that I've done Mythic wise would be the War Duke that I did, and that wasn't a whole lot. It was some drilling and some extra parts that I had to make, and that was about it. So, I mean, plenty of Star Wars and Mythic Legion or Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are good bases for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, those GI Joe customs you did were freaking amazing.
Oh, Jeremy did some too.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Yep.
He went. It was like a week-long venture. He put one up every day.
Yep. That was wave one. I got some in the back room that I'm doing, but yeah, I just went. That was going down a spiral. And someone mentioned Fortnite figures. That was me literally buying a Fortnite Havoc because it looks like Fireball.
Yep.
Saying, oh, it will look great with my articulated icons, ninjas, my Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes stand-ins. And then I just went down a spiral like, oh, I could make this guy into this and I could do this and get this Marvel Legends. And before I knew it, I had a whole bunch. Are you guys G.I. Joe fans too?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
We're a little bit of everything. We talk about a little bit of everything on this show.
Well, I'll let you in on a little teaser. I got something. If you like Mythic Legions and you like G.I. Joe, I got something pretty cool. I'm bringing. I'm gonna bring. I actually asked people on my accounts. I said, look, what do you want me to bring? Tell me what you want me to bring from the collection, and I'll bring some of those pieces. So the pieces that I'm planning to bring to display at Legions Con, most of them were requested by different fans, but I also have 3 pieces that I'm bringing that I've never shown anywhere. It's going to be the first time to see them.
Nice.
And if you're interested in G.I. Joe, I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Have you ever been to by chance New Jersey Comic Con?
I have not. So, I mean, I live in Rhode Island, so Jersey is actually a bit of a drive for me. The first time that I went to Toy Con was specifically because I wanted to go and get some of the Horseman Studios exclusives. But then I liked the show so much that I kind of said, hey, exclusives or not, I think I'm going to come back to this. Because the first time I went, I brought only enough money to get my Legions, and I was kicking myself because there were so many other cool buys there. So last time I went down, when I met a bunch of you guys, actually, I had a few extra bucks to pick up some other stuff. But no, I haven't been to the comics one. Is that a good show?
Well, I was just going to mention that they used to be a big G.I. Joe following that used to attend that show, and we've kind of turned that show inside out. So it's actually turned into kind of like half our show in a sense. So we kind of, between a dozen of us, we get 12 tables. We sell stuff that we don't want anymore, or we have Crashbox Customs who does the dios and brings their dio pieces here and stuff. And we hang out there the whole weekend, basically. But it used to be a big G.I. Joe following that used to go there. People used to dress up, and that's all you used to find is G.I. Joes. And now it's changing to
everything.
Yeah,
it's a mix of everything now.
Hey, can I answer a question that's in the chat here?
Which one?
So JD Gibson asked, how many Detolf shelves do I have full of Mythic Legions? So let's see. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Wow.
So I've got 9. There's 9 Detolfs that are just Mythic Legions. And then there's 5 other Detolfs in here that are other things. And then there's some freestanding shelves that are some other stuff. But actual just Mythic Legions, 9. And they're full, which is when I said I had to sell stuff to make room for other stuff coming in. That's because I have 9 full cases.
Wow.
I'm just watching your brain turn right now.
Well, I know. That's a lot of Legions.
I mean, he makes us
Legions.
look like
Amateurs.
Like,
it's like I counted
Right.
yesterday out of box how many I have out, right? And I was like upwards of like 80 something, and I'm like, damn, Dave, you have too many. But now I'm like, no, I don't. I'm fine.
No,
Like, I'll keep buying. We'll go shopping after we get off the show.
I mean, we're probably definitely well over 100, but
Yeah.
I don't.
What, Legions?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You guys are just missing a few characters, right? Like you have everything, but
Yeah,
we're missing
multiples of things and
Seven. It was like 7 different characters from the original
1, 2,
release.
3, 4. Like the third floor in our house has got low ceilings, like where because the peak comes down to the wall, so we can't put high shelves up there. So there's the Walmart shelves are up there at the moment, which I know we both want to switch out because they
fit
sag,
perfect.
but they do fit perfect. But there's 4 of them in that one room, and they're covered. They're covered in Legions, and then
The table's covered, and there's a big 4 foot by 4 foot table that houses the diorama. They're all over that
all
thing.
over that, and then there's the top of a dresser over in the one corner, and they're all over that, and then all the mounts that we've kind of picked through and found are in another shelving unit up there.
And there's a bunch of stuff.
Because I mean, that one room's just for the Mythic Legions, so it's a lot. There's a lot of Legions up there, and I'm like, yeah, he's looking at the DTOFs, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, but you have 8 DTOFs in one room that are full of Transformers, and then there's a DTOF over in that corner, and then there's a DTOF in another corner upstairs, and all the shelves behind us that are full of all kinds of shit. And I'm like, we're about to put more in the living room after the new year. Like, we're okay. It's
I know. I was just doing the math because of all the.
I know.
It's all,
I'm teasing.
all them Legions. Gotta love it.
Legions.
So, hey Dom, you weren't here last week, right?
Yes.
We all answered this, and we're gonna ask Jeremy after you. But what's your favorite Mythic Legion character?
Oh, the Man of Arms.
Oh, jeez.
The Man of Arms orc.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's my favorite.
the one that I said last week that I didn't have. Right?
Yeah.
So you gotta fucking throw that in my face.
Of course.
He does that on purpose, dude.
Yeah.
I know. Like,
Well, the funny thing is that when we went to that first, like, I remember when we went to ToyCon and they were selling the birds, and a couple of the guys got them. I was going to jump on the bald eagle, but I decided not to, and I regret it that I didn't. That I didn't get it. So all of a sudden, the next time we went, they had the Coliseum wave, and Brian was like had a list for friends that wanted them, and he's buying for these friends that I guess were engaged in Mythics at the time, and I'm looking at them. I'm like,
it was Chris and Gary he was buying for. So
Yeah,
list of people.
but
The
like,
day before,
he was
I was
buying-
the only one that left there with any.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like that, they had the Skeletor. They had, I think they had the He-Man there as well, and they just had all the Coliseums, and they had the Rygar, which when I saw him, I was like, I'm in. I bought him. I bought the Black Knight with the gold trim. I think is Romulus. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, you're right.
But and then I bought obviously the He-Man and Skeletor, and I bought a couple Skeletors because Skeletor came with multiple heads and stuff, so you could really army build them if you wanted to.
Thank you. I got one of those.
and then when friends started coming in, and they're like, do you have an extra one? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I ended up giving a He-Man to Chris and a Skeletor to you, Dave. So but the thing is then I started and I think I was talking to Cornboy Eric, and I was like, what? I'm like, where's these other characters in the back? Because I was looking in the back case. I'm like, where's these guys? I want this guy, this black and red guy with these antlers. This guy looks cool. And he's like smiling at me. He's like, oh, well, we don't have those anymore. And I'm like, oh shit. And I kind of knew what that meant. So I went on eBay the next day and started looking for the characters that they did, and then I started buying some, and trying to go back and collect some of those 1.0 figures, and I'm so mad that I didn't buy more of them, because at the prices that they were at that time when I was doing them, because this was just before they released they haven't released the AOD line yet. They didn't release it, so some of the hype was still not as big and out there. So like I was able to get like some figures for like $60, $70, $80, but like now forget it. Like if you want to get some of those hard to reach, some of those Knights and some of those Rygar and some of the Coliseum wave, you're paying over $100 for them. So it's like it's funny because sometimes I saw some of those figures for like $85, $90. I'm like, nah, I'll wait until they get lower, and they didn't get lower. So it's like it's hard, but but like I said, the imagination that just the army building and just the grouping of characters when I saw the line, like I even started, and you guys know this, like I started going into the Motu line and some of those one-off figures that I thought fit the line. Like they were not popular characters in the film, in the film, like in the show, but like they were good enough to where they could fit in. And if with a little, eventually if I ever start painting or, customizing myself, because, I'm going to get bored. I'm going to, get time on my hands eventually in the future. And I'm probably going to do this stuff, keep myself busy, and that's what I would probably start doing. And that's why I would, accumulate a trough of these figures. So when I do start customizing or building stuff and doing it myself, I probably, could have a good, pick and selection from things and start doing what Jeremy's doing.
Good luck with those baseball glove of hands you got over there, by the way, trying to customize shit.
Dom, you gotta open them up though first, though.
I'm opening them up. I'm open. The one customized the one that I know JD is gonna like. There was one. I don't know whether you did it, Jeremy. Was the Evil Lyn and the bird. Like there was a bird that had a very similar patina to Evil Lyn, and I don't know whether you did it, Jeremy. He showed me it, and I was like, oh, that looks fucking cool. And it was an easy customization. Yeah, it was an easy customization because I remember reading your outline of what you did. And I was like, you know what, I can do that, and I did. I bought the Evil Lyn. I went on eBay because all the birds were sold out, and that bird wasn't so hard to get. I think it was a sparrow, and a brown sparrow it was. And then I bought it, and I did that customization because it was easy to pull off the parts and put it together.
You're talking about the harpy I did, where it's like the length.
Yep. So it was something easy. It didn't require any painting or any, it's just pulling parts off and putting two figures together. And I felt, and when I saw the picture when JD put it up, and I was like, oh, I definitely want to do that. What two figures were that? And I put it together, and that's the first custom that I did. That was fairly easy, nothing too complicated with it.
And that was one, actually. There was a guy on the Facebook group called Patrick Boyle who discovered that those pieces were compatible. He was like, hey, did you know the bird piece goes into and as soon as I realized that, I was like, that's a great find. So I did that as well.
Yeah, so it was appealing to me. And like I bought it next when I think I forgot what show they had where they brought out some Evil Lyns and at the Toy Con, and I was like, I'm buying it next to that one. Give me that one. So So it's like I said, Jerry, you just gotta get into it, feel your own comfort zone, and just start doing it. And I'm sure I'll probably get more aggressive with it with regards to when these Legion builders are somewhat accessible, and I'll just use off that. But I'm more of an army builder. I like you said, Jeremy. I like looking at other action figure lines and utilizing them and bringing them in. Painting is not my thing. I got these tree stumps of fingers, and I'm not good with little things. So, but like,
the way you treat me, I know you're not good with little things, bro.
Yeah, and I
pushes me around.
I elbow Gary on mine. I can move people, but I can't, like moving figures and getting all little things together. It's kind of hard for me, but I enjoy seeing, that's why I work a little harder, work some extra overtime, and like Jeremy selling a figure or somebody customizes a figure, I'll buy it. But it's I really enjoy what this line brings to the customization part of it, the imagination, and how it reminds me of when I was a kid, just picking up action figures and making them your own, and not really going towards the
story.
Yeah, making your own story. Because I remember playing back in my backyard with turtles, and just sometimes the turtles were bad and not the good guys. They're the bad guys. And just changing it up a little bit. And just enjoying that story that for that particular day, and engaging in your imagination.
Yeah.
So
Now, Jeremy, second part of that question was to you too. What's your favorite Mythic Legion character?
So when I've been asked this in the past, the first figure that I remember really grabbing me was Gorgo from the first wave, which is funny because when I saw him, the idea of a knight with those antlers, like a black knight with those antlers, I thought was so cool. I don't even have my Gorgo displayed with the antlers, but I loved it when I saw it. So that one's always been kind of one I like a lot. Others that I definitely would, shine a light on. I like the goblins. I've done a ton of goblin customs, and the Nubnik is probably my favorite goblin. Just something about it. He's got the two heads. Both of them look great. I've always liked him. When I tell people when they're getting into the line, I always tell them if you need to start somewhere, the Barbarian kit is a great place to start. It's so versatile. It's got so many parts in it. If they really like dwarves, I always tell them, hey, get Bromden Ironjaw. There's a ton of cool dwarf weapons in there. Really just all around cool figure. But one figure that I really, really like that I find that some people love the character, some people not so much, is Grisha the Slitherer from the Advent line. Yeah, that as soon as I saw that, I was like, it kind of looked like an Arabian Nights version of Boba Fett to me. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was really, really cool. So that one.
Mm-hmm. Nice. That's a good one. I have to open him.
I
think I opened
that. Should.
Oh man, got so many to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So guys, I'm done with my questions.
Uh-oh.
You guys got questions?
I do.
Go for it.
What else do you collect, Jeremy?
It's a good one.
So I've been collecting for 20-something years. Obviously, Mythic Legions have only been out for a small part of that. So I to this day, I still collect. I've got a lot of Transformers. I know you guys are big Transformers fans. Over the years, I've collected different Transformers lines. I had a lot of like the deluxe ones, and I was never huge into the movies, so I didn't have a ton of the Bayformers. But my favorite Transformers character was always Soundwave.
Yeah.
So when I got a Soundwave Masterpiece, I told myself, "Oh, I'm only going to get this one Masterpiece." And anybody that's ever said I'm only going to get one Transformers Masterpiece can tell you the same story, that they then were like, "Oh, screw all these others, I got to get Masterpiece." So I sold I sold all the Transformers I had and totally changed the display of those to Masterpiece and third-party stuff. So I still have a bunch of those, a lot of Marvel Legends. And then I've got some older lines. Like I collected all the Palisades Muppets many years ago, so I still have a huge display of those. I've always been a big fan of Nightmare Before Christmas. So I have a lot of like Japanese import Night Before Christmas stuff by a company called June Planning. Some Star Wars. I still have some Spawn. Kind of a little mix of everything. Some Predator.
Nice.
Those are all good ones. Yeah, we all collect a little bit of everything too. It's just right now, Mythic is the high. It's just kicking the veins in right now for everybody. Who's washing dishes right now?
No.
Whoever's wife is washing dishes, just tell them to cut it out. We're on a freaking
Not me.
Very professional show here.
I will say this. What I'm buying these days is primarily Mythic Legions and some Marvel Legends. And it's mainly because the other displays, I'm kind of happy with where they are. Like the Transformers display, I've kind of got my G1, tribute characters. So I don't really, when I see stuff coming out, it's usually new third-party versions of a character I already have. So it would have to be like a huge upgrade for me to say, you know what, I really want to go with that. I think the last ones I got were by, is it Zeta Toys?
Mhm.
I think I got the Cosmos and the Sea Spray tributes that they did. And I just, they were like super fat and chunky. So I like that. But
Yeah.
well, I'm pretty happy with that display. So I haven't gotten much more. Mythics is really what's hitting the pocket, you know, the wallet the hardest.
So I know you mentioned Fortnite. What other lines do you really have your eye on? Like, what's coming out that you think it's going to give you good fodder for Mythic Customs or fit in well with it?
So Fortnite I haven't really been using for Mythic Legions. Fortnite I've been doing for my 6-inch GI Joes that I kind of went down a spiral with. So I have my eyes on that. Some of the Fortnite stuff that's come out that I've seen that would work with Mythic Legions, like McFarlane just showed like a lizard man. I don't play Fortnite, so I have no idea what
Right.
that are. Like a lizard man.
Yeah, he looks like a troglodyte from D&D.
Yeah, and
He's kind of cool looking.
the aesthetic of them, though, it didn't look like, if I'm going to use something with Mythic, like I use a lot of parts with Mythic Legions, but I don't use a lot of like full on, just take that figure as is and plop them right down. I don't do a lot of that just because the horsemen have such a defined aesthetic, you know, which is largely because when you look at a lot of other toy companies, they have a lot of different people working on this line, but Mythic Legions is very, very much the product of Eric Treadaway's creativity. You know, he's the one that's doing a lot of that sculpt, a lot of the creative. So the look of Mythos is very much, you know, consistent because he's so involved with it. And because of that, I find it hard to put other lines just as is alongside them and them like fit well. So I don't have a lot of my eye on a lot of stuff to put alongside Mythic Legions. But as far as fodder pieces, I don't know. There's nothing. It's mostly older lines for me at this point. It's mostly picking up, you know, older Spawn figures. Like I said, getting more. I mean, I've been hunting down lots of Lord of the Rings figures to replenish some of those pieces because they're always good to use, and there's so many of them. But I can't think of anything new that I'm really excited about specifically from a fodder standpoint.
I think the Toy Biz and the Spawn stuff, the sculpt on them are so great. And I think that's why they fit in well with the Mythic Legions.
A lot of that old Spawn stuff was the Four Horsemen.
Yeah,
Which is interesting, right? Like
Eric did a lot of it. Yeah. And even after they left, they were such a creative force there that even some of the lines that came out right after their departure, you can still see that the kind of art direction that they brought to that group carried through some of those lines that came out right after. And then you can see it start to divert because they've told this story that, you know, when McFarlane started doing more sports, and, you know, I've talked to them and they've also told me that, you know, when they started doing more of the like Tortured Souls, the stuff that was, you know, really, really pushing the edge, and they were like, yeah, that's not really what we're super interested in. You know, they're toy guys. They wanted to do more like Masters of the Universe stuff. So that stuff I think goes a little bit away from their aesthetic, but you're right that a lot of that Spawn Samurai stuff and everything, it really fits in well.
I like the fact that you know you stick to a lot of that stuff just to keep the aesthetic, you know, consistent, that's a big problem I have, especially with like my Transformers collection. You know, every company they make the toy a different way. You know what I mean? Some of them they paint them, some of them they don't, and like, you know, Mythic Legions and even the way that you're customizing them, you know what I mean? It still holds true to that aesthetic.
Yeah.
Consistent.
I agree. I brought a guy I work with is a huge Transformers collector, and you know, as collectors, you try to enable each other. So you're like, oh, you don't have that toy? Let me bring it in and show it to you, so I can force you. You know, you can say, oh, I got to go buy one. And I brought in the Bruticus, the third-party Bruticus. What the heck is it called? I can't even think of it. Oh, Warbitron. Have you seen that one?
Tron, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought that in, and he looked at it and he's like, "Yeah, it's cool," and he pointed stuff out that I had never even really thought about. He really is a G1 type collector. He loves the masterpiece cartoon versions that are coming up now because they're even closer to the cartoon. But he likes the really clean lines. And when he looked at the Warbitron, he said it was too detailed. There's too much going on, too many like little nooks and crannies and stuff. And I had never even really thought of that. But yeah, looking at the aesthetic of them side by side, to me, they were both Transformers. But now I was looking at it with a different eye, and I was thinking, yeah, you know what? These really do look very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean, it all comes down to this, the style of the company or whatever,
Yep.
Some of them are very stylized and some of them want to stay true and give you that cartoon look, or they have like I don't know, we call it more of an adult appearance, I guess. It's like the way I explain it, I guess, is more when you were a kid and you were playing with that toy as a kid, it's how you saw it in your head, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These updated versions, it's got a little more tech detail, but not over the top or whatever,
I always explain it with Transformers specifically. I kind of explain it as the cartoon type version versus like the comic book, like IDW specifically.
Sure.
Because the IDW designs were much, much more detailed than what you saw in like the cell animation from the cartoon. And when you look at the toys, you can right away, you can say like, yeah, which art style influenced this more.
So is that what started you collecting Transformers?
Starting me collecting. So, I mean, obviously I played with the stuff as a kid. The way I got started, I remember, actually I was getting a tattoo. So I was getting a tattoo. I was 18 and the shop I was at had the Kenner Series 1 aliens.
Oh,
So this was going way back, like the Bull alien, Scorpion alien, and Gorilla. And I had never seen anything like that. Like they were so detailed and they were from an R-rated property, which I know today that's not a big deal at all, but that was kind of a novelty back, at this point. So I hunted those down. I left that tattoo shop with a tattoo and wanting to get, some aliens toys. So I hunted those down, and that got me back into toy stores. That got me back going to KB Toys and a Toys R Us. And that was right around the time that Spawn Series 1 hit. And I like comics, but I'm not a huge comic reader. I usually back into lines and back into properties through toys or movies or something, and then I read the comics. So I didn't know the Spawn comic, but I started seeing the McFarlane stuff, and just like what happened with the aliens, it appealed to me. It was an edgy story, and that was a really interesting time to get into collecting, and that's really Spawn, I would say, and the McFarlane stuff is really what started me being like a hardcore collector.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, stuff like Transformers, once I kind of got my feet under me collecting and I did the Spawn and everything, that's when you kind of start getting nostalgic and you start saying like, okay, well, I want to collect the toys from my childhood. But to be brutally honest, I know there's a lot of vintage collectors. I'm not a vintage guy. I look at vintage stuff and I'm like, that looks like shit. Like it was awesome when I was a kid, but like a 3 3/4 inch Boba Fett was always my favorite as a kid. A 3 3/4 inch Boba Fett from when I was a kid, it's a cool nostalgic piece, but it doesn't look cool. I put that on the side of my like Star Wars Black Series Boba Fett, and it's very, very different. So I started collecting characters that I remember from my childhood, but new versions of it, which is why I like Masterpiece, which is why I got into, Motu, 2000X and then Motu Classics and all stuff like that. Characters and toys that I remember, but new versions.
So what was your appeal to Mythic Legions? If all these other things you collect had some sort of like fiction behind them, what is it that drew you to Mythic Legions? I'm always interested to hear people's answer to this.
So, I mean, I'm a toy guy. I like cool toys. I have plenty of stuff in my collection that I have no nostalgic attachment to. It's just a cool looking toy. So I followed the Horsemen when they opened their studio, and I have all the Seventh Kingdom figures, all the Gothtropolis figures.
Wow.
So I had already had all that stuff. So when they did the Birds Kickstarter, I got a bunch of those birds. So I was already, well into what they were doing when Mythic Legions got announced. So I would have gotten some anyway because I liked the studio and liked their work. But it is kind of nostalgic for me because even though Mythic Legions isn't part of my childhood, it does scratch that Dungeons and Dragons itch for me. It very much, I spent a lot of really great, weekends with friends, dungeon diving, and that's what this reminds me of. It allows me to create, just like back then when I would create characters on paper and we'd go on an adventure, what I kind of do feels like a form of that.
Right.
I think you and I need to team up because that's how I kind of got the idea of building, like some of these dioramas and stuff. We were in and out of a tabletop gaming place. It's like up the street here, and he wanted me to paint some sets for him, and we were just getting into the Legion scene right around then, and I'm like, these characters are straight from D&D. They're straight from Warcraft. They're straight from Lord of the Rings. There's all these properties, and I'm like, we're in and out of this gaming store, and I'm like we need a game. We need a big elaborate setup to play this, and you got your avatar that you can just make up out of nowhere. And
we were on our way back. We were out on a toy hunt for the day, and we had just put our first pre-order in after the first Toy Con we went to, where the Legions were there.
That was the AOD stuff.
Yeah, and we just started having this elaborate conversation about a D&D tabletop Legions game, and that's when we started the dungeon.
Just in a 1/12 scale, not little whatever 1/24 or 1/64. Something big and crazy.
Well, I have to imagine too, JD, and I don't know what everyone does for work here, but JD, I know what you do, and you have a creative job, but I have to imagine, you're doing work for other people. There's an aspect to, if they come in and they want a certain piece, you've got to kind of do what they want. And I mean, I'm a designer. That's my background. I have a creative job, but it's not art. It's not me expressing. I mean, I have goals that I have to hit and stuff with my design work. But a lot of the stuff that I can learn from my design profession, I apply a lot of that thinking to what I do here. And that's kind of one of the reasons, like I said earlier, why I don't take commissions, because I build other people's shit all day at work. I don't want to do it for my hobby as well. So that's why I'm very strict about doing my stuff.
I can understand that. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do work wise, people will bring ideas and I got to kind of elaborate on that. You know what I mean? I'm not going to steal other people's artwork or whatever, you know what I mean? So I'll interpret it on my own and draw something new, but it gets a little monotonous. You know what I mean? There is a such thing as typical white girl tattoos, and you know what I mean? Pinterest. Yeah. There's a lot of it that, it's just it's work, whatever. I'll do it. I don't really want to, but then, coming home here and then working on the things that we work on, it's I can just kind of go crazy and just, okay, this is what I see in my head and I can build this to my heart's content,
So you'd rather do a tribal on an orc as opposed to a person, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. I just realized something. You said design, Rhode Island. Do you work for Hasbro?
I do not work for Hasbro. I've been to Hasbro. I know people that work there. I've been there for tours and stuff. No, I don't. I don't work for Hasbro. Oh. I actually work for a technology company.
All right, you did say that earlier in the pre chat, but it just clicked. So I'm like, wait a minute,
It actually made me think, because the TF Con that you're going to, they did that in Pawtucket a couple of years back, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Wasn't it?
It was probably BotCon.
It was BotCon, yeah.
Or are you talking about HasCon?
No,
it was
it wasn't
Hascon did. Yeah, the Hascon was in Rhode Island, and BotCon one year was in Orion.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't. It was before HasCon. I knew it was a Transformers convention that actually moved different places, and they did it in Pawtucket or in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the things they did was a tour over at the
Yep.
studio
At the facilities. Yeah.
So that one was interesting.
That was BotCon.
Because that BotCon, I remember seeing footage of it. It was really hard for them to talk about the third-party stuff.
Yeah.
Because like Hasbro people were there.
Yep.
So like it was very, I don't know, they had the panel, but they had to choose their words really wisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in the beginning, BotCon was allowing third party. Like it was there, but then it slowly, once Hasbro was sponsoring the show, it disappeared. It was pretty much gone, and it wasn't allowed. So I would say probably the last four or five shows, I would say, for BotCon was sponsored by Hasbro. So they weren't allowed to bring third party, and that's why TFCon became so popular, because the third party market and what it brought to was not being provided at BotCon anymore. So, TFCon was a convention for the fans, by the fans. So it was basically third party was a very accessible at that convention. So
yeah, makes sense.
So I think that's something Mythic Legions needs as well. It's not third party, but a complementary line made by another company. I feel like we don't have enough sword and sorcery stuff to fulfill our needs and what we want to buy. And I think that some other line needs to come out and do that as well. Because I don't think Masterpiece would exist without third party, because they just can't put out enough figures. So I would like to see McFarlane or some other toy company do a complementary line to Legions.
Not McFarlane.
No.
Why not McFarlane? Because of the articulation?
Yeah, most of their stuff now is trash.
I don't want to give anybody else my money. I'm okay with waiting on these pre-orders.
Come on. You're giving all kinds of people your money buying those $100 orcs.
See,
don't laugh at me.
That's what's tough, because they put out. I feel like the studio that with just Mythic Regions, they put out so much stuff as it is that when I think about stuff that I don't have that I want them to do, I feel like they're going to get to it. I feel like, okay, if I hear people saying, oh, we want lizard men. I've literally been in the room where they've talked about that, where they've talked about lizard men, and that's something they want to do down the road. And, people say we need robed wizards, and they've been very clear that, yep, we're going to get to that originally eventually.
We have.
Is?
Yeah.
I have a tattoo of that.
Oh, no kidding.
Nice.
I have a
No
tattoo.
way.
Yeah, I do. On my leg, I wanted to get a Quetzalcoatl tattoo, and I was looking at different source material for the head, and I was like, "What am I, an idiot? I have one on my toy shelf."
Oh, shit.
So I actually brought that to the shop, and she tattooed up. It goes around my whole leg, and it's that head.
Oh,
That's nice.
That's cool.
Sweet. I'd like to see that,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, at Legions Con, ask me, and I will be happy to show.
Just make sure you shave, all right?
Sure, when I got it, not anymore. But yeah, so I don't know. If there was going to be a complimentary line, I would want it to be stuff that they haven't done yet. You want to give me giants, which they've said they're going to do, but they've also said they're going to do that 3-foot dragon. If someone's gonna bring beasts in or something like that, characters that would fit in really, really well, that would really excite me. But I feel like they've touched on so many of the tropes already. So there was a Kickstarter a few months ago now that was barbarian style figures.
Yeah, the Unslain.
The Unslain, yeah. But they were small, right? They weren't
They're 1/18th.
So a lot of people really wanted them to be 1/12th. And I was looking at them and I'm like, you know what? I don't know that I really want a lot of them. I like the fact that they had kind of the furry wrapped boots and stuff like that. But those are things that I do think that the Horsemen are going to get to. They're going to give us those type of parts. So I was looking at that Unslain line, which in 1/12 scale should be a perfect fit. And I don't know, it didn't scratch that itch for me. I didn't look at it and say, yeah, I really want to get some of those. So if there was a line to go with it, I really feel like it would have to be something totally outside of what the Horsemen are already doing.
Yeah, like Legions in space.
I
don't know.
I feel like that they're
That's coming.
right. I feel like just supporting them as people who love toys and people who make an amazing product is enough for me as a person. I don't really want to, like Dave said, I don't want to give my money to anybody else.
Yeah, right. I mean, how much money do we have? We're running out, right? Like, come on.
I mean, like, we're already running around going, is this mythic? Is that mythic? Like, that's the big question. So, like, I feel like they've kind of,
it's at the bar. Yeah.
Right. It's exactly the point. I don't know if they could. I don't know if anybody could top that.
Yeah, and your point is an interesting one, because when I buy other toy lines, I don't think about who's getting the money from that. When I buy a Marvel Legends, I'm never buying a figure saying like, oh, this is going to help anybody. I don't think about it. It's just buying like a consumer product. But because the Horsemen are so visible, I mean, I know them personally, so when I buy this, I know that I'm supporting a bunch of super toy fans to do what they love. And there's something really cool about that. It's kind of like, it's like when you back a Kickstarter. When you back a Kickstarter, you know that you're helping a creator get something produced.
Right.
Even though the Horsemen are not doing Kickstarters anymore, it still has that sense to it. It's still it's still small enough, and they're still accessible enough, and hopefully they always will be accessible enough that it feels like a personal purchase.
It's just 4 dudes.
Right. And I think that's where it hit me, is like the creative, like, they're beautiful. They really are. They're beautifully done. They're fun to play with. And these are people that you're supporting who love what they do. So that makes it even more special in my opinion. I get all fangirl around them. I'm all like,
you do.
So I know. Can you sign this? Yeah, right.
But to your point,
sorry,
I was just gonna say, to your point, it's like, how often do you get a chance to meet the creators of the toy line that you're infatuated with?
Yeah.
Like, it's rare, and we've been buying from the 4 Horsemen and seeing them at shows to the point where we kind of know each other's faces. But last week Eric was on our show, and I just felt like dude was such a nice guest to have on, that I would love him on every week. You know what I mean? Like, it just felt good, and that's why I'm like, you know what? Like, this line makes me feel good. The people that are selling it make me feel good. So take my money. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you talked about fangirling when you're around them. My first time actually meeting them was when the Advent of Decay Kickstarter was going on. One of the stretch goals was the intern for a day. And I did that. So
I remember. Yeah, you were one of those guys.
And I took my son. I reached out to them and I said, "Hey, I want to buy 2 interns for a day because I want to bring my son." And Eric Cornboy was like, "No, actually, just buy 1. You can bring your son. That's no problem." So my first time meeting them was totally as a fan, going to the studio and totally just geeking out. So when I got contacted by Cornboy a few months later, when they did the first G-Con event, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this online convention. We'd like you to come down and display your customs on the air."
Oh, wow.
Total fanboy.
Right.
I was absolutely like, trying to play it cool. Like, yeah, that'd be really nice. I'd enjoy that. And I was freaking out. I was actually at a convention that I was doing for my company, and I'm like bouncing around trying to tell all these IT people about, like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to a toy convention to display." So yeah, I totally get it. But they're great guys. They're totally accessible, and everything about the line makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Except for how much it costs me.
With that said, though, you did mention, was it 18 years you've been married? So I'm assuming your wife's okay with this all, but does she ever come down on you? Like, you're spending too much time with these toys, or no?
No, she's really cool about it. I was collecting before I met her, so that was very much, it's funny. She said recently, we had this conversation where she said, you know what I miss? I miss getting in the car and going toy hunting, like going to KB Toys and Toys R Us. And I'm like, no shit, I miss that too. That was awesome. When you would go, I mean, it's just, it's weird collecting today. It's like, I just go on the computer. I go on eBay. I go on Big Bad Toy Store and pre-order stuff. But those days of like driving to KB Toys and Toy Works and Toys R Us and walking in and seeing a new display of Spawn figures or Toy Biz X-Men figures, that was awesome. And we used to do that. That was how we started dating. We would go on toy hunts and then we go to like Applebee's and stuff. So she's always, it's been part of our relationship the whole time. As much money as I spend on the collection, I've always kind of had a rule that the collection pays for itself. So that's why I sell stuff, and like all collectors, you get into a line and you collect it. And then you mentioned earlier that, you get out of stuff sometimes. So you flip it and you sell that and you use that money to buy new stuff. That's always been, I'm not spending bill money to buy this stuff. And, I think that's a big part of her being cool with it. And she knows I love it and she loves me. So that's where I work.
So listeners, that's the key to a perfect marriage, okay? Is get them involved a bit. You know what I mean? Take them toy hunting with you. Let them go buy a sweater while you go buy something else. But
that's how him and I got started. Hank, he's been collecting for like 20 some years. We went to high school together. We run into each other. We start hanging out, and on his days off work, we would get together and we would go on toy hunts together. And now we moved in together, and that's why our whole house is full of toys, because we put our collections together, and that's kind of why it's like this. But it's, and you're right. You get, if they're involved, it's more fun. I think like we're involved in what each other does, so that makes it even more.
Chan, look at how big the family got. How many brothers you just got, right?
It's kind of crazy because I don't really have much family, so like this is a beautiful thing.
It is, and stuff like this is really important. Like, obviously this is my first time joining you, but like the community around Mythic Legions, as awesome as this line is, and I think it starts at the top because the Horsemen are so cool and they're so giving back to the community of fans. I think that fans have taken that, what I know a lot of you are members of the Mythic Legions Cabal. With so much drama online, to have a group like that is so drama free, that it's genuinely people helping each other. The amount of days that I log on and I see people post thank you to this person for hooking me up with this figure, for helping me get this part. It's incredible how many people do that, and that being part of that community has been such incredibly rewarding experience, I think, for me as a collector. Certainly the most rewarding part of all my years of collecting.
And Jeremy, to follow back on what you just said, it's like that's why the Cabal kind of reminds me so much of the Realm of Collectors, because the Realm of Collectors is just what you said. It's a safe haven for people who just want to hang out, be friends, talk toys, and not have to deal with bullshit.
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
Yeah, we don't like, once somebody starts with the bullshit, all right, you can go. Like, like this is a common ground for everybody to talk about, things you have in common, you know what I mean? And it's just it for me, it's expanded not only like my love of the toys and the collecting, but just my open mindset. You're dealing with different people from different backgrounds. We're all from different parts of the state. When we're together, it's one big family. Like, it sounds too good to be true in a sense, but it's the reality of it. When I get down to resting on Thursday, every embrace that I get, it means so much to me. Like it's beyond words. So like when I leave there, usually I'm sad because I'm leaving a bunch of friends that I have to wait another year to see. With some of them, I mean, the guys on this cast, we bump into each other more frequently than most people can. But exactly. So what you said, I mean, just to have somewhere where you can just congregate and get together and not have any drama. I mean, what's better than that? Really.
It's good jokes and good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are in the cabal, JD, Chan, Dom, Alex. We're all in that group. We're all in the realm. And the reason why we bounce back and forth from one to one is because they're almost the same, except you may not be talking about the same subject.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I like it because it's kind of like one of those situations where with the cabal, it's strictly Mythic Legions, but with the realm, it's everything. So it's a good combination of what everyone collects, and we, here we go, like-minded people, having a good time.
We go to the cabal because we get picked on in the realm for our cystic legions.
Yeah.
Lesions.
No,
you know what I mean?
were they were calling us at one point phase life.
Yeah.
Right.
Eat it, Robert.
Pretty long phase now. It's like 2 years into running now. Like, come on.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. So when at the last Toy Con, when we were there, I was waiting in line, and that's when I met Dom. And we got to talking, and he knew who I was. So we started talking about Mythic Legions and everything. And then we actually got kicked out. We were right in front of the door. We kind of like staked out a cool spot. And then you guys gonna go outside. We went outside, and I'd never heard of the Realm of Collectors. And there's a whole group of you, and you guys all knew each other, like talking and trading different things, like jokes and everything. And I was like, this is awesome. And then I literally heard your group and other people talking, hey, Realm of Collectors, hey, I know you from the Cabal, blah, blah, blah. And it was very, very friendly. You could sense the camaraderie in there. And I heard the names of those two groups thrown around a number of times while I was waiting in that line and while I was at that convention. So everything you're saying about them being a similar kind of mindset is certainly rings true for me.
Yeah. It's like a family reunion every time we all get together. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I think the only difference is the Cabal is Mythic Cabal. It's about mythics, and the realm is just about anything and everything.
But it's kind of nice to be able to step away and just focus on Mythic Legions, especially whenever.
I mean, for the Cabal listeners, Chan, who collect Transformers, who collect Star Wars, who collect anything else, Realm of Collectors is a great place for you to hang out too. So, come through, a Facebook group, Realm of Collectors, or watch us on Tuesdays. We got a great cast that talks about all the news, all the recent action figure news on Mondays, and they have a great time. On Chan's on that show. Sometimes we guest appear on them, but we don't get asked anymore. But
I share all my road rage stories on Monday nights, and
I think Walter does a really good job of running the Cabal. Like I don't remember how long ago he founded it, but it's grown where it could have got out of hand really fast.
Oh yeah,
like 700 members, and like you just have like 5 bad members, and that whole group becomes terrible.
Sure.
And Walter and his admins really, and I think Jeremy, are you an admin in there too?
I am.
And you guys do a really good job of keeping the nonsense down. It's effective.
I don't feel like there's Alex out yet through there. Yeah, I don't feel like there's a whole lot of nonsense. I've been in there for a while, and I might have seen like 1 or 2 bad posts in the few years that I've been in that group.
And they squash it so fast. And Walter doesn't tell this story all that much, but I have no problem telling it. Walter started that group specifically because of other Mythic Legions groups where the admins were assholes.
Yep.
Right? And they were just, a lot of us can tell stories about getting kicked out of other Mythic Legions groups for doing stuff that, I remember posting customs, and I would post like where the head is from. I'd say like, oh, this head is from Jim Panther Creations, and I'd get banned. And I'd contact the admin and I'd say, hey, why did I get kicked off? And he said, oh, you're advertising. So I'm not advertising. I'm answering a question. Like, I know that when I post something, people are going to say, where's the head from?
Where did you get
that? From earlier, Don was talking about the Harpy I made, and he said he followed my recipe. That's why I post my recipes online. for everything I do, because people are always like, do you mind if I copy this? Of course not. That's why I put the recipe there. Enjoy it, take it, copy it as is, do a different version of it. That's why I was posting that on the Facebook group. And these admins were just kicking people off for stuff like that. So Walter got kicked out for something like that. And he said, well, screw this. I'm going to build my own. And he legitimately built a better group. He said, I don't like the way that community is being run. So instead of just complaining about it, he said, I'm going to do something. And he has built literally the best Mythic Legions group you could ask for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. All right. So with that said, anybody that's still listening, okay, you
Time for
or
that?
watching, you qualify for the giveaway. Okay.
Do we qualify?
No, unfortunately, we
Oh.
don't. Actually, Alex,
We
you're
don't,
you're a
Alex.
special guest member tonight,
I'm
right?
side piece, so I
So
mean,
you have to help us pay for that. Good for you.
well, I'm a full member now, so
But listen, guys, I didn't come up with a fun way to do this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let Jeremy ask a trivia question, and for the first person who answers it correctly in the chat wins.
get those Google fingers ready.
Oh, so I have to think of a trivia question?
Take your time. Yeah, you could take your time.
Okay. Ooh. Talk about, you guys got to talk about
Yeah.
something while I'm thinking.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah. What are you going to talk about?
All right. So donuts and coffee and chips
Oh,
and
yeah.
soda.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and random words to make him
I am
think.
cooking
and-
something. I have chicken in the oven.
Okay, awesome.
Don't worry, Josh. I'll plug you in a second. I got you.
So if anybody wants to know and help us out with the figures
You know
that
what?
we're seeing, we need both our Shadowhorn. We need a Malleus.
So do I.
We need Clavian.
Listen,
And
good luck
Sir
finding them.
Godfrey.
Shadowhorn.
And then we're missing.
You're not getting my Shadowhorn.
Of course, these will probably come out. The Golden Knight Builder and the Silver Dwarf and the Gold.
Oh yeah, they'll come out.
There's
Oh,
a
you got a list
Shadowhorn.
now.
There's a Shadowhorn on eBay for $275 right
Yeah,
now.
forget it.
Go
No,
for it.
I'm good. 75 for. I think
Jeremy, you thought of anything yet? You need a second?
Yeah.
All right. While I plug the rest of the great shows we have on the network, Josh is in the chat. Josh is part of our Friday crew who talk about anything and everything too. Mostly fiction, comics, and just they even fight with each other about like football games and
Wrestling.
shit like that. And great group of guys. Check that out on Friday, 8:00. And while I do that, I'm just gonna play a little video. If I could find it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there it goes. Welcome back to Breaking the Mythic. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah, all right. 2 weeks in a row, Mythic Talk. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know next week we're gonna have to bring it back to Transformers for a little bit. and come
Wah,
back.
wah.
Well, after TFCon, you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, there's also going to be a lot of, International Realm Collectors meetup talk too. So
Definitely.
Mhm.
All right, so I got a question.
Yeah.
All right, everybody ready? Here we go.
So,
Wait, hold on. I gotta get my wife to answer the question. Hold on.
Yeah, me too. Bit.
How do you get it? Ready? Are you ready? Yeah, she's ready. She's ready.
so of all of the different factions, right? There are different factions in the realm of Texas, right? There are 10 of them. Which faction has had the most characters released so far through the Aether wave?
Ooh.
Oh, man, Jeremy's not playing. He's asking
good
hard
question.
ones.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, I saw Patrick Dix. You better get this right, Patrick. You still listening? You better get it right. You were in here. Come on.
I'm waiting for
You found the answers?
45, 72, 3.
No, it's
It's a faction
Oh,
name.
oh,
You gotta
oh,
include
No,
the
I know.
faction
I
name.
was just waiting because
Faction name. There's 10 factions. Which faction of all the shown figures has the most released? People are saying elves and orcs. Those aren't factions. Those are
those
the races. Yeah.
races.
Mhm.
Come on, people. Come on, people. Think. Bear Clan.
It is-
Come on.
it is a-
It's not called. Is it called the Bear Clan? No.
Nope.
No, but there is a bear. It's the bear.
It's like
the
Noble
logo
Bear,
is the
right?
bear.
The house of
Oh,
Noble
yeah.
Bear.
I think I know the answer, but I'm not gonna even say it because
Don't.
You can't say it.
I'm looking at it right now.
I know it from the pile of like just when you have them on the side, you can see the faction symbols.
Yeah, me too. I don't know the name of the faction. I can see the symbol though.
I know what symbols. A lot of
So,
symbols
all
are the
right.
same.
I'm looking at the answers here, right?
Uh-huh.
And I think we've got a winner.
Is it?
Oh.
Is it Pete?
Let's see.
Is
It is Jim Hogg,
Jim.
Legion of Arethyr.
Wow.
Nice.
Jim.
Jim.
Jim. Oh, yeah.
Hey
The
Jim, you're
Jim.
gonna be at
Arethyr
TFCon.
has
We
the
could
most
trade, all right?
figures released.
Yeah.
Order of
So big.
Etheron is a good answer, and I've actually had this conversation with them. All of the birds are technically not part of that faction, other than Etheron himself. They're technically not part of that. So I believe, looking at this, the first person that I saw answer that at 9, I thought I saw it at 9:41. Where is it? 9:45. Yeah, Legion of Arethyr. That's what I had at
Legion of
9:45.
Arethyr,
Good
yeah.
job, Jim.
And the
Thanks,
bear
dude.
is the House of Noble Bear. So just to let you guys know.
Yeah, so there's actually 10 factions. So there's a little bit about the lore if you want to know that. There are 4 evil factions and 4 good factions, and they were created to kind of have counterparts. So the Arethyr wave with the Legion of Arethyr versus the Army of Leodesis, those factions were created to fight each other, and the 4 good factions have corresponding bad factions, and then there's 2 splinter factions: the House of the Noble Bear and the Sons of the Red Star.
Sons of the Red Star, yeah.
Yeah.
Sons of the Red Star. That's like one of my favorites.
Hmm.
So
me, yeah,
it looks like Jim, this is going to be yours.
Good job, Jim.
Heck yeah. Congratulations,
So, you
Jim.
guys, and they'll figure out how we're going to get that to you.
Oh, I like this. Adrian C said we need a family tree to simplify it all. He's so right. All right. Well, good. I'm
Yeah, I
glad
guess,
you had fun.
I don't know. Hit me up, Jim, and I'll direct you to Jeremy, and then you can get everything figured out. And
Yeah, we gotta pay Jeremy first.
yeah, we
so
gotta pay Jeremy first.
we're paying him in pennies and nickels, so you gotta be patient. All right, awesome. So
God.
with that, I think we could start wrapping up. Does anybody have any last questions for Jeremy while he's here, or are we good?
I mean, I'm excited for.
Yeah, I'm just excited.
Yeah.
The next 2 weeks are gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got the Transformers thing, and then Legions Con, so you got 2 things to look forward to. It's funny because I'm actually really looking forward to seeing the diorama stuff. You know, I'm hoping you're going to have some stuff there for sale. I could use some new pieces for some of my photography and everything. So it's just everything, all the stuff that people are bringing. It's like I said, I kind of programmed this as a fan, and I think that fans of the line are going to appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what everybody brings and just to be around everybody. Really,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. That and picking up some new stuff too. So we will see.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, Jeremy, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you?
So I post all my stuff on Instagram under the name Mythic Customs. I repost everything on the Cabal and on my website. My website is www.mythiccustoms.com, and all the pictures I have, all of the recipes, that is all on my website as well. So if you want to see literally everything I've done, go to that website. You get the whole catalog.
Awesome.
Nice.
Before I tell everybody else or give everybody else an opportunity to say goodbye, I just want to mention the toy drive one last time. Oh, is that the right one? Yes.
Yeah, that was the right one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So bring your toys to TFCon Reston. It's all for a good cause. Let's do the right thing. You know, it's got to be new in box, nothing used. So it's all for the kids.
And if you don't have anything, work it out with Hanny. He's got a list of stuff. I think Rob has a list, is what I heard.
Yeah, I think Rob put a list together too.
Or you could just hand me the money. I'll work it out later. I'm just kidding. All right. JD and JD. Let them know where they can find you guys.
You can find me, Chandra Cooper, on Facebook, Wookiee in Pocket on Instagram. You can find me on Monday nights on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel on Enter the Realm, and sometimes on Tuesday nights here with you guys. You'll find me this weekend at TFCon or the International Realm of Collectors meetup with tons of cookies and baked goods for everybody. And also at Legion Con in 2 weeks.
Yep.
With tons of cookies and baked goods for everybody.
Heck yeah. You can find me, Pigment Surgery, on Instagram and Xbox Live. You can also find us both at Shelf Gravy on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me here every Tuesday night with these fine fellows and the ones that are missing. And every other Wednesday, Figure Banging. No new show this week because of TFCon. We'll probably do something when we get back. So we'll see. Whatever Ace decides. I'm gonna get him drunk and see if we can do one while we're there. Maybe. I want to see him break something finally.
Right, break it live.
So
we also did a Mythic Legions figure banging one time. So
yep.
Oh yeah,
go back in our catalog. Yeah, go
episodes.
back in the catalog, guys, and take a look. We showed off some figures.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Side Piece.
You can find me on Facebook as Alex Riggs, in the Cabal and Realm of Collectors. I don't use my personal page for anything other than those two groups. So if you friend me, you'll probably still end up talking to me in those groups or over instant message. There's nothing on my regular Facebook page. I'm on Instagram as Collecticon, but super inactive. Need to take some more pictures.
Until you change your name to Side Piece.
Right. Change my name to Side Piece.
Yep. He'd be hiding out in the bushes with underwear around his ankles.
Apparently, you can find me here whenever other people don't show up.
Yep.
Like a couple hours notice. At least this week, it was like Sunday, I found out. But usually it's like an hour before. It's like, hey, can you come on the show?
Hey, what you doing right now?
Rob just called you Masterpiece Side Piece.
It's all right, Alex. That's how I started out too. I was a backup for him.
You were Side Piece too.
Yeah. Hey Dom, how about you, man? Where you're at?
You can find me at Dominic Ross on the groups, and here Tuesday nights with you guys. And I will be at TFCon enjoying all the festivities there. It's going to be a great time. And come out, say hello, and we'll definitely be hitting up at the bar, having drinks, and at the rock party, enjoying all the friends and family that are there. And we'll be at Toy Con and Mythic Legion Con, definitely. God, I can't wait for that. So we'll definitely be there and online, elbowing Gary just to get him out of the way because I need to buy more Mythic. So enjoy, guys. Enjoy.
What about
you?
Oh, wow. All right. Energon. Find me here on Tuesday nights. Energon_addict on Instagram. David Colon in the Facebook groups. I will also be at ToyCon. But can't wait to be there, and can't wait to see everybody. Safe travels. Anybody driving, anybody coming with your family, get there nice and slow. We're not going anywhere for a few days. And I will be at ToyCon. I can't wait. Look forward to it. Can't wait to see all the goodies that Jeremy and
just it sounds like I'm going to drop a lot of dough.
Yeah, and JD and Chan bring, and everybody else that's bringing some cool stuff. I can't wait to see it all and be there. So I want to thank everybody for watching. Jim, congratulations on your win. And we're out. So thanks for watching another episode of Breaking the Mold.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Say it with me now. Round.